Alrighty. Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Kristen. This is my booktube. And in today's video, we are going to be doing a deep clean of my bookshelves. I'm gonna take all of my books off of my shelves, dust them, clean them, rearrange my books to something that makes a little more sense than they are set up right now, so that my gallery wall can be looking nice and pretty again, because it's been looking pretty cluttered recently. So that is what we're going to be working on rectifying today. It is going to be quite a big undertaking. I have a lot of books, so taking all of them off the shelves and dusting them off, dusting the shelves off is gonna be quite the undertaking, I will say. I have been putting this off for a while, so we're gonna bite the bullet and we're gonna get it done this weekend. So today is Friday, January 16th. I have to work until noon today, and then we will be just focusing on these bookshelves for the rest of the afternoon and evening, and I do anticipate it taking the afternoon and the evening. But nonetheless, I am hoping that by the end of the day, we will have a aesthetically pleasing gallery wall to marvel at, as I nod off on my couch in exhaustion from moving all 500 books back and forth. So yeah, that is the plan for this video, and I guess we should just go ahead and hop on into it. Well, I'm hopping on into work, but we will hop on into the reorganization once I'm done with work. Alrighty, so before we actually jump into the organizing part of this video, I'm gonna give you a brief overview of the state of my shelves as of right now and give you an idea of our starting point so that we can have a clear before and after when we finish this, okay? You know, give you an overview of what it's looking like now, what I have an idea of what I want to do with it, and then we'll get to the actual execution. So let's go ahead and jump into that. All right, so here is a kind of overview of what they're looking like. Pretty chaotic, honestly, but that's what we're here to fix. So as you can really tell with this shelf, it kind of just became like a catch-all for a bunch of random things, and they all need to just find their way back home. These middle shelves aren't really that messy just because this is my normal filming background, so I tend to keep these shelves pretty clutter-free, shall we say. But as you can see, it is very dusty, so definitely need to do some cleaning. I also would like to switch out what books are in my background. I have all of these book of the month books that look so nice and aesthetic on a bookshelf, and I think I would rather have these in my background. They came from the bookshelf that's in my room. That's not really part of this video because it's not really aesthetic. It's just an overflow bookshelf for things that don't fit in my living room. But that is where these guys have lived since I moved into this apartment. And I just kind of want them to be in my background instead. So we're going to do a little bit of shuffling with that. I will probably end up moving these encyclopedias in there because you can't even see them in my videos anyway. I never really use them, so they're just kind of taking up space here, and it would make more sense to put them in my room. And then here is my final big bookshelf. It has some clutter on it, but not as much as the other big bookshelf does. But nonetheless, still needs reorganizing. So yeah, that is what my shelves are looking like overall. And as far as how they are organized currently, I have this big shelf is all my fiction books. I have all my Agatha Christie's at the bottom. And then these shelves are mostly fiction. These bottom two shelves, as I mentioned, are more like encyclopedias and like children's classics that I've had since I was really little. And also my like high school yearbooks are down here too. And I also think that's something that I could put in my room instead of having in my living room. And then this far shelf over here is my nonfiction shelf, and this is where all of my history books, all of my poetry books, and any other memoirs and things like that that I own live. And as I mentioned, these are all my book of the month books, which I do have another one sitting on this shelf that I need to open and add to them. And I do think that I want to keep that arrangement going forward. I just kind of want to switch up what books are in these middle shelves mostly that are in my background, and shuffle some of those into my room and bring the ones in my room out here. Other than that, I'm mostly just like taking books off the shelves cleaning my bookshelves and making sure that everything is in the right place, because I'm notorious for taking books off of my shelves and then not putting them back in the right place, and that's how they end up looking the way that they do. I also have gotten more Agatha Christie books, so the shelves need to be arranged to fit those as well. So we've got a lot of rearranging to do in general. So let's go ahead and just get started with it. I can't find the handle, so we're just gonna have to use it like this. Just wanted to give y'all a visual of all of my books in my living room. Like, this looks crazy. I'm here to interrupt this reorg because I want to talk to you guys about some of my favorite books that I own in my collection. I've never really talked about any of these books before. You probably have seen them as part of like my decor and stuff, but they are actual books. They're not like those weird like decor books that people buy on like Etsy or whatever to just have aesthetic books to display. They are real books, they are vintage books, and I realized that some of them I've never really talked about on this channel before, so thought I'd stick this in the middle for a little bit of extra book content for those of you that also appreciate a good vintage book. And I'm going to start off with the first vintage type book that I ever purchased, and I bought this book when I was in high school from a local consignment shop, and I have to be very careful when I pick it up because it is actively falling apart. But it is this collection of the complete works of William Shakespeare. This lives on my shelf up here, and it rarely gets opened anymore because the spine is literally falling apart. I know I can get this like recovered and stuff like that. I just have not. I just do my best to take care of it in the state that it's already in. I'm gonna put it down now while I talk about it because, like I said, it is very fragile. So I don't want to mess it up any further by trying to do a little show and tell for you all. I will insert other video of it laying flat on a table so that you can get a better view of it. But this book is one that I found at a local consignment shop when I was probably like 16, maybe 17. The copyright year is 1925, and there is a little inscription with the address of the person who initially actually owned it and the date. So when I saw that when I was in high school, I thought that was so cool. But yes, this book holds a special place in my heart because it is the first truly vintage book that I've ever owned. And I was very paranoid about the state of it when I bought it, because even when I first got it, it was not in great shape, okay? So I've always handled it very gingerly. I have not moved with it that much. The whole time I was in college, it stayed at my parents' house on a bookshelf so that I did not mess it up. But now that I am an adult with my own apartment, it has made its way back to me, and now it is displayed on my bookshelves at all times. And it does make me very happy because I have since cultivated other books that look great alongside it. But yes, I really love this book. It has all of the things that I really love about older vintage books. I really love seeing what other previous owners of these books have written inside of them. Some of them have taken notes and written out like timelines for certain events in the books or the authors. Some of them wrote their names in them with the year. Some of them have inscriptions of to and from because they were gifts. I just think stuff like that is so cool. It's like a little glimpse into the past of where this book has been, what it has been through, whose hands it has touched before in the last 100 years. Even though the last like almost 15 of those years, it was solely in my hands. But you get what I mean. And this is the book that started my love of collecting these vintage books. And for that reason, it does have a very special place in my heart. I will probably try to get it restored someday, but I also really love the weatheredness of it now because it just shows how much this book was read and loved and how much it meant to the people that have owned it before me. And now we're going to gingerly place it back on my shelf. This is about as much movement as she's gotten in the last like 3 years. So she's tired. She needs to go back on the shelf and rest for a little bit. All right, moving on to the smallest book in this favorite books section of this video, and it is this teeny tiny little copy of The Ballad of Reading Gaol by Oscar Wilde. My camera's not really wanting to focus very well on this cover. I think it's because it's so dark and worn that it's kind of hard for it to pick up in this lighting. So I'll try to also overlay a different video of the cover so you can see it a little bit better. But I found this little copy of The Ballad of Reading Gaol at a consignment store in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. It's the same place that I got these Harper's Bazaar magazines that are framed above my bookshelves. They had a lot of really cool stuff like that in this random consignment shop in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. And they had a good selection of these tiny little pocket books. They were made by the Little Leather Library Corporation in New York. And though this book does not have a publication date on the inside, according to Google, these little books were produced between like 1916 and 1923. So that gives kind of a time frame of when this book may have been produced. But when I saw this in Colorado, I had to buy it because I really like Oscar Wilde. I have read The Picture of Dorian Gray, and I have studied him, his trial, and Victorian society in general. So when I saw this book, amongst all the other ones in this collection, I felt it calling to me, if you will. So I had to pick it up and I had to purchase it, even though it was $5 for this little book. But still. But yes, even though it is probably the smallest book that I own, it is also one of my favorites. The next stack of books I got from the same consignment shop slash thrift store. I don't know what the proper term is, honestly. It was the Memory Den in Portland, Oregon, and if you don't know of the Memory Den, if you've never been there or never heard of it, the Memory Den is a consignment shop type store that is really big, and they have all of these little booths that vendors can rent out and sell different things. And there's a lot of really cool stuff there. You could spend hours in the Memory Den just walking around looking at everything. And they have a ton of books. And I really had a hard time controlling myself, to be honest. The main thing that stopped me from buying more books is the fact that I flew there. So I was having to keep in mind that my bag had to be the right weight going back. So that is why I got 4 books from there. These are 4 books that I just could not pass up, and I'm so glad that I bought them because I look at them literally every day on my bookshelf, and I just love them so much. They bring me so much joy. So the first one in this stack, I was gonna show you the cover, but the cover is just plain. But it is, I don't know if you can even see that. It is, drumroll please, Call of the Wild by Jack London. And this particular copy is from, I believe, 1933? 1931. And though I already owned a copy of Call of the Wild, it was a new edition, so I was not really that dissuaded from getting this one because, in my opinion, a hardcover from the 1930s is better than a modern print any day of the week. This one doesn't have any writing in it or anything like that from previous owners, but it is in quite good condition, in my opinion at least. And I really enjoyed like the raw edges of the pages in this book, and I just thought it would be really cool to own a copy of this book from 1931. So that's the main reason why it is one of my favorite books that I own. The next book that I got from the Memory Den is this copy of Ivanhoe by Sir Walter Scott. And a little preface, I've never read this book. I've never read Call of the Wild either, but I could not pass up this hardcover. This is one that did not have a publication date on the inside, so I don't know when this was produced. I would guess like early 1900s, but that is purely a guess. Like, I don't think anyone would be able to tell just from looking at it when it was from, but if for some reason you do, let me know if you think you know when this book is from. My guess is early 1900s, but that is, once again, just a guess. But this is the full story. From what I know about Ivanhoe, it was like serialized, so it was published in like 8 volumes, but this one, from what I understand, has all of the chapters for all 8 volumes, so this is a self-contained telling of the story. But yeah, I don't really have any other reasons as to why I bought this book, but I do really love having it in my collection and having it on display. The next book that I got, that once again is a blank cover, is The Poems of John Keats. And this one also does not have a publishing date, but I would probably put it at around like 1920 maybe, if I had to venture a guess. But this one also stuck out to me because I went to King's College London. They do a lot of branding surrounding John Keats. Literally, like, their student portal or whatever is called Keats. So that is a reason why this one kind of called out to me, but it was also in really good condition, and I really loved the artwork on the inner cover, and there was a note on the back. I don't know when it stopped recording. I guess I'll just start talking about this book again. This book called out to me for a couple reasons. One, it's in great condition, if you can't tell, but also there is a little note on the back about the vendor's favorite poem in the book, and then if you open it up to that poem, there is a little card to bookmark Ode to a Nightingale with a note that says my favorite poem of them all. So I thought that was very cute to have a recommendation for a poem inside of this book. Plus, as soon as I opened the cover, the artwork on the inside was just so pretty, and I really just enjoyed everything about this book, so I went ahead and purchased it, and now it is one of my favorites that lives on my bookshelves. The last book that I picked up from the Memory Den was this copy of Eclectic English Classics, and this is a collection of Milton's minor poems. And this one was published in 1911, and it's a pretty small book, as you can tell. This is one of the books that had a previous owner that did write in the margins, and on the introduction page you can see they kind of wrote out a timeline of the things that happened in John Milton's life, and I just think that's so interesting because, like I mentioned, I love seeing the things that other people find interesting in books, whether it's what they underlined, highlighted, what they've written in the margins to comment on the book. I just love seeing that, especially in these older books as well, because to me, it's like a time capsule of what someone was thinking while they were reading this book years and years ago. And I just think that it's something that adds to these books and something that makes them feel more human, because you can really see the way that someone interacted with the book when they first encountered it. I don't know, it makes me feel like the books are more alive, if that makes sense, by seeing how they were loved before they were in my collection, as sappy as that sounds. But this book is like a great example of that. And on top of that, it's just in really good condition. So I was very happy to pick this up and take it home with me when I found it at the memory den. Then the last stack of books that I have, there's only 3 of them. And these ones are special because they belonged to my great-great-grandmother. So 2 out of the 3 books are more like, I guess you could call them reference books, but the one that is not a reference book is this collection of poems called The Passing Throng by Edgar Guest. And this was actually given to my great-great-grandmother by her mother in 1923, according to the inscription on the inside. And that's the same year that this book was published as well. And this was given to me by my grandma when my great-great-grandmother passed away. And it is once again in really good condition, and I treasure this book so much. I have read a few poems in this book before, but I haven't read it like cover to cover or anything like that. But just like the history that this book has had, and knowing that it came from someone in my family just makes it so much more special to me. And that's why it gets to live on display on my bookshelf as one of my favorites. The next book that was my grandmother's at one point in time is this English to Spanish dictionary from 1960. There are no notes or anything in this. I just think that it's a cool pocket dictionary to have, and it was given to me by my grandmother, so of course I'm going to keep it and display it, and of course it's going to be one of my favorites. And the last book that I wanted to talk about, and the one that probably gives the first one, the Shakespeare one, a run for its money as my favorite, is this tiny book that is The Etiquette of Letter Writing. As someone with a historical background, this just fascinates me. This handbook of like how to write letters is so interesting to me. And I think it's just because I have read so many historical letters before. I literally had an internship where my entire job was just cataloging the correspondence of one person, and she had like over 350 letters in her collection that I had to go through, read, and archive. So I've read a lot of letters from the 1700s to the late 1800s, and something like this is just so interesting to add to the things that I already knew about like Victorian letter writing and the history of letter writing in general. I just think it's so interesting that it's so small. You can fit it in a pocket, in a dress, in a pair of pants, in a purse. It can go literally anywhere with you. And it talks about everything from a house party invitation to morning stationery to yacht stationery, whatever the heck that is, dinner invitations, RSVPs, business stationery, child's party invitations, Christmas cards. There's so much in this tiny book. And that, coupled with the fact that it belonged to someone in my family, makes this teeny tiny book one of my absolute favorites in my collection. And like I said, it probably gives the Shakespeare one, which has been my favorite for a very long time, a run for its money of which one is actually my favorite. So yeah, that was my tour of the vintage books that I have displayed on my shelves and why they get to be displayed there, why they're my favorites. So yeah, with that, let's go ahead and just jump back into the rest of this organizing video and get these books back in their places.